Alright, so I thought I'd do a quick little walk around of my phone of the week. Everybody laughs at me because I change my phone on a nearly constant basis. But anyways, this is the T-Mobile G2. It is um, a very stock Android device. Um, the only real thing that is been changed in it is they've added two extra home screens. So now you have stock Android, but there are seven home screens. Um, and what else? There are a few T-Mobile bloatware apps. Where's our first one? Basically, this comes with every Google Android app available. So, like, Goggles came stock, Google Sky Map, Google Translate, Latitude, Listen, um, My Track. So, if it's a Google app, it's on this device. And then it also came with like My Device. It's a T-Mobile app, Setup, T-Mobile app, Wi-Fi calling, Web2Go, all T-Mobile apps. But as you can probably tell, the phone is incredibly fast. It's running an 800 gigahertz processor, so it sounds maybe spec-wise a little slow, but it's definitely not. It absolutely flies. There's no lag at all. Do the lock screen. I mean, there's no lag. It's a little bit ridiculous, actually. Um, I was on I was on an iPhone. I went to a Droid Incredible. I didn't like the build quality, or the unit I had was actually defective. The speaker wasn't working. So then I went to a Droid X. Um, didn't really like the screen size. I hated the Moto blur that Motorola uses. Um, then so I decided to go to an Optimus T on T-Mobile, and that was too low end. So I've settled in with a G2, at least until the Nexus S is released. But I went ahead and when I went on T-Mobile, I went ahead and bought the device outright. So I paid out the butt for it up front. But T-Mobile also knocks your bill down, so my monthly bill is only going to be like $68. Um, and for a smartphone plan with unlimited text messaging, that's really, really good. Um, you're still able to buy like insurance and stuff. You're just simply not under contract. Um, and of course, the device is also available under contract if you so choose. And this also has the optical trackpad, like some of the new Blackberries. So that's pretty neat, especially when you're on a web page and you're trying to like fine tune where you want to point. This is a mobile site, so there aren't that many things to select, but if this were like a full-size website, you'd be able to kind of navigate better. But like I said, pretty much stock Android, it flies. It's lovely. I ran the quadrant score earlier. It's one of the benchmarks, and we'll run it again. It doesn't take that long. Basically, it scores above the Droid X, which runs, of course, a 1 gigahertz processor. Scored above the Evo, so any of the other flagship devices, it will have scored above. Feature-wise, it's got a 5 megapixel shooter with flash. It's also got this really cool aluminum door. It's basically the battery door. Basically, you slide that little slide, and the door just hinges. So no more prying off the back to get to the battery and the micro SD card. It simply just kind of lifts off. Micro USB on that side for charging and data transfer. The volume rocker, it's probably one of my biggest complaints. It's huge. You often brush up against it. If the screen's not locked, you'll brush up against it. Just because it's so big. I would have preferred two smaller distinct buttons. That's also the speaker grill, and that's the other big problem, is the speaker is not loud at all. coming from a Droid or a Droid X or anything like that. The speaker, even an iPhone, um, totally not adequate. But there you can tell your device above a Nexus 1 running 2.2, a Droid X running 2.2, an Evo running 2.2, and then of course you have the Droid X on 2.1, Samsung Galaxy S, which is all still on 2.1, and then a bunch of 2.0 and 1.6 devices. So a score of 1521, pretty good, which means it's, puts it ahead of a stock Nexus. Other problem with the phone, it doesn't have a front-facing camera, which I'm not really that worried about. But it's got the stock Android buttons, home, menu, back, and search. And then kind of its distinguishing feature is the slide-out QWERTY keyboard. Trying to see how I can videotape the hinge. The hinge actually, it kind of comes up and then settles in. And you may have seen video of the hinge. And you get it tilted past a certain point, gravity and the design hinge take over and it closes. In practical, everyday viewing, even if you're sitting at a table and you've got it in your hands like that, it's not going to close. It's only when you've got it past that vertical will it start to close. So I haven't really encountered a real life situation where that happens. But the keyboard is good. There's great separation between the keys. My only problem probably is they've got these www and it's also a .com button, which is great. But for some reason, I'm not sure if I just have huge hands, but a lot of times when I go to grab the A, I grab the .com button, so you got to be careful there. And then the same thing, for some reason over here, the L and the K, I have a tendency to mistype. Other than that, it's a pretty awesome keyboard. They've got these quick keys, these 3 silver keys. So basically I haven't assigned them to anything. But you can assign a quick key so that it will do whatever you want. So let's say, assign it to, alright, where's Gmail? Applications, Gmail. So now, whenever I hit that key, Gmail pops up. And obviously, it's just lightning quick. So kudos to T-Mobile and HTC for bringing out a fairly stock Android device. And when I say fairly stock, there's no UI changes on this. It's stock Android UI. The only real changes have kind of been the additional 2 home screens and then kind of the T-Mobile and Google bloatware that comes added on. And I was trying to rack my brain earlier. I'm not sure, other than this, if there's a stock Android device currently on the market for consumers. The Nexus S is coming in 10 days. But I was trying to think, because the original Droid runs stock Android. It's like a Nexus that runs stock Android, no additional apps. But I was trying to think of all the other, every device on Verizon is scanned. Sprint, maybe the Moment has stock Android. But none of the flagship devices. If you were to go into a store and say, I need your, best-selling device or your most powerful Android device, none of them would be running stock Android. And I think it may behoove Google to adopt the same position that that Windows Mobile has taken, which is we're going to enforce a strict no skinning policy. Because what's happening is people are reskinning these devices, which makes them harder to update. You have to do more software testing, more updates, etc. And the net result is that it takes forever for people to get the updates. So while people are, while Google's pushing out all these updates, there are still people who are legitimately on good devices that are running 2.1, which is not, we're not going to have all the features. And Gingerbread does a pretty, I would say, a substantial UI change. It kind of goes to a black notification bar with like green icons. It looks pretty neat. But anyways, so yeah, I still haven't decided. They announced the Nexus S earlier yesterday. I'm still not sure if I want to move to the Nexus S. It doesn't have 720p recording. There's no micro SD card. The only storage you get is the 16 gigs built in, which is a lot of space, but I like the idea of being able to expand. I have the 8 gig card in here, but I can upgrade that to 16 or 32 by just swapping them. Also, this runs on the full on library, so there's no reception. This runs full HSPA plus, whereas the Nexus S only runs HSPA, the lower speed, the 7 something. So basically, this has more headroom as T-Mobile expands and increases the speed of their network. This is going to be a faster device as far as internet's concerned. But then again, with the Nexus S, you'll be first to get updates, new features. That's their new reference platform. So, of course, there's no slide-out keyboard on the Nexus S, no trackpad. So, I don't know. I'm going to sit here and wait and see, maybe see how long it takes HTC to update this phone. Because it's stock Android, it should be a relatively quick and easy experience for them. They're kind of becoming old hats at updating these devices, and of course they'll be rolling out the update for the Nexus 1 here in the next couple weeks. But yeah, very nice device, very speedy. T-Mobile's network has been great. No complaints at all. So that's a little review and walk around of the G2.